Thank you. Turning Point USA, you can do it. Thank you. It's great to see the future of America here this evening. America's going to do all right, I can tell you that, because the future leaders of America are here tonight. I don't know about you, but when I voted November 5th, 2024, I voted for closed borders, I voted for affordable groceries, I voted for lower gas prices, I voted for no more censorship, I voted for no more men in women's sports. And I also voted to blow up small boats off the coast of Venezuela. When people think of the biggest threat to world peace, we often get distracted by China and its growing influence in our hemisphere, or Russia and perhaps its desire to retake Europe, or maybe Iran. But thankfully, we finally have a president who understands the real threat to world peace: Venezuela. You know, Venezuela. It's kind of next to Argentina, I think. I'm not exactly sure, but it's definitely below Mexico. Probably. Like all Americans, I pride myself on not being very good at geology or geography, whatever it's called. But it doesn't matter, because we have the greatest, most powerful military the world has ever seen, and that's why I'm being ironic, and that's why it's so important to demonstrate our military superiority by blowing up small single-engine boats off the coast of Venezuela, wherever that country is. I'll tell you one thing, Guatemala and Costa Rica better think twice before they fuck with us. But anyway, Epstein. All right. I just heard that Candace Owens has proof that the Venezuelan boats were blown up by the Zionist state of Israel. And it's true, because Candace had a dream about it. All of Candace's dreams come true, especially the dream she had when she was a little girl about one day becoming the biggest grifter the internet has ever seen. But there is a glimmer of hope. After a conversation that she had with Erica Kirk, Candace Owens has promised to be 3% less completely retarded. But we must give Candace credit. She's not afraid to ask the important questions, like, does Emmanuel Macron's elderly wife have a penis? No other journalist has been so fearlessly laser-focused on world leaders' possible wives' penises. I hate to break it to Candace, but the only person interested in the genitals of Brigitte Macron is Candace Owens. Even her husband, Emmanuel Macron, isn't interested in Brigitte Macron's genitals, and hasn't been since he was at least 14 years old. Well, let me tell you, I was supposed to be with Charlie Kirk at Colorado State University, and I asked him the week before, I said, I want to go to the craziest place we could go together. Like, what's a crazy university? And he said, well, we'll go to Berkeley. And unfortunately, Charlie was taken from us, and I had to go to Berkeley alone. And it was crazy, but it gave me hope because of the fearless kids who showed up, even though there were crazy Antifa rioters. The future of this country is going to require us to be more courageous. And my hat's off and my heart's out to those wonderful kids at Berkeley showing up and braving those crazy Antifa people and whatever hair they had, whatever color it was, that didn't stop them. Now, in early November, the New York Times ran a headline, "Nick Fuentes is becoming Charlie Kirk's successor." Now, that headline tells you everything we need to know about what's at stake right now. The void Charlie left behind is real. And if we're not careful about who fills it, if we let the Candace Owens and the Nick Fuenteses become our dominant voices, we're going to make the exact mistake the left made. And we're going to risk once again giving the reins of power back to the crazy radical left. Now here's what I mean. Thank you. Here's what I mean. The left has spent years calling moderate people names. Charlie Kirk, fascist, with no evidence. Jordan Peterson, well-dressed fascist. Rob Schneider, midget, which is just as hurtful. I'm almost 5'5". But they couldn't counter Charlie Kirk's ideas with their own. So they had to characterize him as some right-wing monster. But they failed, because anyone who spent 1 minute listening to Charlie Kirk knew what Charlie Kirk was about. Charlie Kirk was only interested in the pursuit of the divine truth, in love of family and country and freedom and saving the republic. Charlie Kirk wasn't Nick Fuentes, not even close. Charlie was about having conversations, addressing reality, opening up dialogue on college campuses. He made a point of resisting the more extreme elements on the right. He called people out when they got out of line, the groypers, the people who crossed into actual anti-Semitism. Nick Fuentes, Nick Fuentes said, women shouldn't be allowed to vote. So obviously not all his ideas are bad. You needed a joke in there. By misidentifying moderates as extremists and moderate ideas as abnormal, by being led by the woke mind virus, it cost the left their hold on the culture. The American people saw who the real extremists were, the Democrats. And Americans overwhelmingly resisted them at the ballot box. In every swing state and in the popular vote, the American people rejected Democrat extremism. But here's where it gets dangerous. The left is trying to reframe Charlie into something he wasn't, and by extension, all of us. Extremists, Nazis, fascists, white supremacists. By taking moderate people with views held by the majority and turning them into monsters hides the real monsters among us. So when actual extremists show up, people can't tell the difference anymore. Now here's the warning. If the right doesn't learn from the left's mistakes, if we start embracing our extremists the way the left embraced theirs, we'll go down the same path they did. Now, for example, the day Joe Biden got inaugurated, on day one, his first day in office, he signed an executive order where somebody held his pen, allowing men in women's sports. Yes, Boo is right. 67% of Democrats opposed that policy. 67% of his own voters didn't want it. The left got led by their extremists. They pushed positions their own voters didn't support. The tail wagging the dog, and it destroyed them politically and culturally. This is a road we must not follow. If we let the extremists fill the void Charlie left instead of the reasonable, rational voices he represented, then we will lose. Just like the left, we will become unelectable, and everything Charlie built will be for naught. I'll tell you a story, a turning point between the old pagan Rome and the Christian one. In 404 AD, the Roman Colosseum was the center of entertainment. Emperors used blood sports to distract the populations by giving them what they wanted, entertainment, having them watch gladiators tear each other apart in the sand. The crowds loved it. They cheered for death. They had no empathy for the men bleeding out in front of them. These men weren't in their tribe. They were the enemy. During these bloody games, a monk named Telemachus jumped into the arena. He stood between the fighters and shouted, "Stop! In the name of Christ, stop this!" And the crowd killed him. They stoned him to death right there. But his death shocked the emperor, and it shocked the people. They finally saw the horror of what they'd been cheering for. That was the last day of the games. Telemachus was a turning point. But here's what really ended that day. Not just the spectacle, but what the spectacle was covering up. The Romans finally saw what they'd been doing, filling an emptiness inside themselves with blood and violence. Once they saw it, they couldn't unsee it. Their culture had a void, and they tried to fill it with games, with spectacle, with watching each other tear each other apart. 1,600 years later, we'd like to think we've evolved. We'd like to think we're more civilized than the Romans who cheered for blood in the sand. But here's the truth. We haven't changed at all. Our Colosseum is Twitter. It's Facebook. It's cable news. It's social media. And when Charlie Kirk was murdered in the bright light of that Utah afternoon, there were people that celebrated. There were people that laughed. They posted jokes. Some, to this day, even say he deserved it. Boo is right. When someone not in your tribe, you have no empathy. There's no sympathy. You can even celebrate their murder. Our culture has become tribal. Now, after Charlie got spoofed by South Park, I called him and I said, "Congratulations, you've officially arrived in pop culture." He laughed. He was tickled by it. So much so that he changed his profile picture on social media to that South Park goofy picture of himself. The goofy picture with the oddly shaped head, which was his head. He embraced it. It was last summer that I realized that Charlie Kirk was an American genius. I texted him. This is our main form of communication. And I said, "We truly have a living successor to the wisdom, fortitude, love of God, family, and country of our founding fathers. And his name is Charlie Kirk." And Charlie responded, "Thanks. At least South Park didn't say I was a stapler," which is what they called you. I'd always admired Charlie, but last summer I knew what we had on our hands was so special. A Christian leader of tremendous mental fortitude, grace, knowledge, and power. When you think of some of the leaders, the biblical leaders, King David, he was a murderer, an adulterer. He coveted another man's wife. When you think of some of Moses, was a stutterer. He never got to the promised land. When you think of the American leaders that we've had, JFK, RFK, Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King, these men were able to do great things, but they were flawed. They had recklessness in their lives. Charlie was the opposite. There wasn't anything reckless about him. He kept his eye on the prize, and the prize was the youth of America, was you people. You taking over and having a country that would continue to be free. Charlie did for me what he did for so many university students across this country. He dismantled foundational thinking. He understood that America is now the keystone of Western civilization. However, he also knew how precarious it was and that it would take only one generation to lose it. He said, "No one is coming to save us. There will be no Marines from some other country landing on our beaches. There will be no Marshall Plan to financially bail us out. We are the Marines." So the question is simply this: will America be a temporary experiment in human history, a brief moment where freedom for the individual, enjoyed by relatively few people in human history, before it returns to some brutal feudal system where individual freedom is lost to a world government with complete control? It will take something more than political posturing. Charlie understood something fundamental. Without faith, freedom becomes fragile. Our roots must be rooted in something higher than government. And he warned us, a civilization that abandons God will deteriorate and ultimately collapse from the inside out. Charlie said, when you stop having a human connection with someone you disagree with, it becomes a lot easier to want to commit violence against that group. What we as a culture have to get back to, he said, is to be able to have reasonable disagreement where violence is not an option. Now, we are in a cold civil war right now, but we must do everything in our power to make sure that this doesn't become an actual hot civil war, and we must do that with dialogue and debate. We must let the better nature that each of us have rise to the surface. I want to point out that after Charlie was murdered, no American cities were burned to the ground. No cars were set ablaze. No looting took place. The only burning was candles. Candles to honor someone who dearly loved our country and fought passionately to preserve these unique liberties that so many have fought and died for. In 404 AD, the crowd killed the priest because he told them the truth. He told them to stop enjoying the blood sport. In 2025, Charlie Kirk jumped into our modern Coliseum, the arena of the university campus. He stood between the mob and their rage. He handed the crowd a microphone. He gave his opponents a voice. He sat there, told the truth, took their fury, and tried to move them and our nation closer to God and closer to our Savior, Jesus Christ. And they killed him for it. May Charlie Kirk's death be what Telemachus's death was. May it be the end of the games, the end of the spectacle, the end of the blood sport. May it be the moment that all of us in this nation choose humility over certainty, conversation over violence, kindness over victory at any cost, truth over comfort. Charlie said he wanted to be remembered for courage and faith, and he will be, always. And though we lost him way too soon, Charlie Kirk knew you don't kill a Christian. You only change his address. Merry Christmas. God bless you. Let's get to work. Thank you. God bless you, Charlie. God bless you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I love you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I love you. Thank you so much. All right.